All right. I just want to welcome everybody. Thank you for coming this evening and spending the next hour with us. We have a special guest from New Zealand this evening, and this session is being recorded. Heather, the floor is yours.
Hello, welcome everybody. My name's Heather Brooks. I'm actually an agent out of Florida and California. Myself, Donald Maycott, Laura, and Debbie started this group a while back ago because we saw a need in the senior market. And if you're not looking at the statistics of the senior market, it's pretty eye-opening. 10,000 people a day are turning 65, and by 2030 that number is going to jump drastically, and we will have more people over the age of 65 than under the age of 20. So that's just an interesting statistic. But bigger than that, most of the real estate wealth comes from the senior market. If you look at the demographics, they own their homes outright. So they've got the largest wealth. How are we marketing to them? And what are we doing to attract both real estate agents, buyers, sellers, all of it? And so we invited Geoff Talbot, who is coming to us live from New Zealand. Geoff, please introduce yourself, give us let us know about everything about you. And if anybody has a question, please drop it in the chat box. This is being recorded, so if you drop it, you'll be able to find it on our Facebook or in our workplace. Anything else? Questions and answers will be done the last 15 minutes. And Geoff, the floor is yours. We just ask everybody go ahead and mute themselves so we can hear Geoff talk.
Very cool. Hey, welcome everybody. Yes, I'm in New Zealand. I'm in a little place called Tairua, which is on the Coromandel Peninsula east of Auckland. And New Zealand is, by the way, just in case sometimes geography for Americans is a little tricky, is down the bottom of the world near Antarctica and Australia. Super happy to be with you guys. We've been back down here since April. So I was in Los Angeles until then. So very familiar with the American market. We work with large numbers of American realtors. So really great to talk to you guys. I love what Heather just said when she introduced me, because working by referral and using technology in a relational way is a perfect solution for people in the seniors market. Now, I'm not going to talk about really, really super young realtors, but often we know they have great technology skills, but their relational skills, their soft skills are not always that good. Now, as we get older, we accumulate a lot of life experience, and that life experience makes it very easy for us to connect with other people if we leverage it, and we can leverage it on technology to form strong connections. So the premise of our session today is to figure out what it takes for you to be 100% by referral, but also be the realtor in your niche who's the most well-known, who leads the market, who everyone mentions when they're in their social gatherings. Oh, you got to talk to Amy. She's incredible. You got to talk to Jennifer. Like, your name is the one that they think about. So you get a lot of trust, which is increasingly important with the way the world is at the moment. There's been a lot of fear around pandemics and things like that. So we're looking for people that we trust. Trust is an increasingly important commodity. If you could just let me know quickly what city you're in the chat box. I'd love to know a bit more about you. So just type in the chat box what city you're in so I can see. You know where I am. I need to know where you are. Let's see. We have the Villages. What's this? Oh, I don't know how to say that. Massachusetts, the Villages, Dallas, Los Angeles, Washington, Phoenix, Scottsdale, Woodbridge, San Antonio. Amazing. Seattle, Fort Lauderdale, all around the map. That's amazing. Let me know also what percentage of your business currently is by referral. How much is it? Is it 100%, 10%, 50%? Just so I know a bit more about you. 25%, 80%, 90%, 40%, 100%. Okay. Anyone else? Give you a few more seconds. 80%, 25%, 100, 90, 60, 30. So a good range of people working by referral to some degree. What I'm really curious about is thinking back to when you first started real estate. What was your goal? What did you want? Why did you start? So if you could just pop that in the chat. When you first started real estate, what was your goal? Not necessarily about referral, just why did you start? More time, more freedom? What was it? Money and freedom? Hey, Debbie, great to have you on here. We've talked before. Great. Build a legacy. Money and flexibility, money and freedom, being my own boss, get busy, have fun, earn some money. Freedom to raise our daughter. I love that. One of the things I love about my job is I can work from anywhere and I get to spend time with my kids. I'm not a stranger to them. Money and family. Yeah. All right. Great. Very cool. What are your goals now? Is it the same or different? Just put same or different in the chat box. Same or different. Same, 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 and expand it. Different. Very cool. Different. Very cool. I want you to be clear as to what your goal is, because what I want to teach you today, I want to show you how you can get what you want. Sometimes we go into, say, real estate for a career. We don't want a boss. We want freedom. And then we build a business which is so reliant on effort and hourly effort that we actually become enslaved to our business again. We might not have a boss, but we have a business that demands a lot from us. We want to build a structure which gives clients to you in a way that doesn't require too much effort. And that's what we want to focus on today. The next little bit of time together, just so you know, I'm going to bring the oranges, but you're going to have to make the juice. So I'm going to give you a lot of information, but it's only going to be information in a strange accent that you might like or not. It's not going to be valuable to you unless you squeeze the orange and actually take some action from what I talk about. Because, you know, talking is one thing, but actions is something else. We're going to share some models that you've probably not seen before. And it's going to be interactive because I want to hear from you. So we're going to use the chat a bunch. Don't make me beg, but it's going to be fun. And this is not an Australian accent. See, I already knew you were going to make that mistake, Heather. Hilarious. And we're going to work pretty fast. So we're going to have fun with this. Does it sound good? Can you give me a wave in the camera if it sounds good? Great. Let's get started. What does it mean to become a leader of your market? What does that mean? So we think about becoming the leader of the market. That could be the leader of your little niche, the most prominent realtor in your small community, the most prominent realtor in your specific niche. So we have one lady we work with, Jennifer Pretty in Boulder, Colorado. It's going to do about 100 million production this year. And her niche is very specific, modern luxury. That's all she does. So if someone refers her another house, she'll refer it out. Like just sells things. She's the leader of her niche. So our goal is to increase your profile in your community, whatever your community is. That's our goal today. And we want this for 3 reasons. If you have a piece of paper, you can draw this out. Number 1, we want business to come to you. So you're not having to chase it all the time. As your profile increases, more people know about you, you become the trusted voice. So there's a lot of trusted business coming to you. We want to simplify your marketing so you're not having to hustle all the time. Trust me, as we get older, we want to hustle a little bit less normally. That's normal. And then we also, as your profile increases, it allows you to have a profound impact in your community in a way that's valuable to you and valuable to other people and not necessarily about real estate. So 1, 2, and 3. And that's what we want to do today. Ultimately, why do you think people refer you? If you could pop that in the chat box. What's your reason for why people refer? Anybody. Why do you refer someone? Trust. Great. Trust. Dependable. Trust. Professional and honest. Expert. Helpful. Honest. Knowledge. Like, know, and trust. A bit of that. Knowledgeable. Anyone else? I think there's a difference between just a one-off referral and a lifetime partnership where someone will refer you many, many times. I didn't have this question down here, but I'd be curious. What's the most number of referrals you've received from one person? Like if you had to guess, Like one person has given you how many referrals? 3, 5, 4, 2, 2, right? 3, 3. Okay. So I think we can do better. I think we can create partnerships where people refer us a lot. And this is the reason why I think people will refer you more and more and more. And it's not just because you're trusted. Let's say that's a given. They trust you. It's because you have a really deep connection with them. Because they are wanting inside themselves to help you as much as they can. Can we create that desire with people to say, you know what? Deborah's amazing. Carol, she's incredible. Eve, Brenda, I want to help them. Like, what can we do to make people or inspire people to move heaven and earth to help us? I've certainly referred people who have never asked me for a referral. I'm like, I like that person. I want to help them. Have you guys, can you give me a wave if sometimes you help people or refer people because you like them? Yeah, because you like them. Because if we don't really like them, we might trust somebody. I've worked or had a health professional before who was very good at his job, but terrible bedside manner. I couldn't really refer them. I found it hard to refer them. Would I want my wife going there? No, he's probably going to offend her. Great at his job, but probably going to offend her. So this connection is super important. And we think about it. I want to show you a model which is about disconnection. So let's play with the opposite, if you like. Like, what is a disconnect? What happens when you're disconnected? And most of us are not connected enough to our sphere of influence. So disconnection looks like this. One, and I want you to think about which problem. You're just not known by enough people in your sphere of influence. They don't know what you do. They don't know who you are. So you're simply not connected in a disconnected model to enough people in your community. Not enough of them know who you are and that you sell real estate and that you're a great human being. Making an assumption there, but I'm sure you are. The second thing is with disconnection is sometimes we're connected to the wrong people. And we see this with price point. So sometimes people will say to me, I really want to work selling $750,000 houses. At the moment, I'm selling $400,000 houses, for example. And my question becomes, well, if I look at your sphere of influence, how many people do you know at that $750,000 price point? And the answer is normally none or not many. And so we have to change who you're connected to, or at least shift your sphere so you're more connections at the area you want to sell properties in, the price point. Same as for listings. Perhaps you want to have listings in a certain neighborhood. You're not getting them. Chances are you're not connected to enough people in that neighborhood. You're connected to people in the wrong neighborhood. So that's the second point. Third is, and this is really big, disconnected realtors have shallow relationships with people. I'll give you an example for this. We work with Robert Darrow, who's an incredible realtor in Florida. He's part of our training, and he does a lot by referral. And I asked him to think of his five business owners that he really loved that were in his sphere of influence, 5 local business owners. So he thought of them, wrote their names down, and I said, okay, 5 questions for you. 1, what do they do? Yep, he knows what they do. 2, how do they get their business? Yes, knew that. 3, why did they start their business? Knew most of those. 4, what's their goal with their business? Knew most of those. 5, asked him another question. Can't remember what it is right now. And he's like, I was like, wow, you know those people really well. So it sounds like a strong connection. And then I said to him, and if I were to ask each of those people the same question, could they tell me? He said, no. They didn't know basic things. They didn't know that he worked 100% by referral and wanted to do a good job and have his business shared word of mouth. They didn't know why he started his business. They didn't know what his goal was with it. So why would they move heaven and earth to help him? They don't know him well enough. And we see a lot of people in the service-orientated way of working, which is great, who are very good at serving, but not so good at sharing. Not so good at sharing, not so good at inviting people in to serve them too. And so when we look at disconnection, the problem is that we're too unknown, you don't know the right people, and your relationships are a bit shallow. Curious in the chat, which one of these three are you most likely to struggle with? Just be honest. Are you too unknown, don't know the right people, or are your relationships a bit shallow? So just put 1, 2, or 3 in the chat. That's right. I'm making you work. How dare I? Shallow, all, unknown, 1, unknown, 2. You don't need a lot of technology to shift from unknown. You can use your Facebook profile to do that. We had one lady, Mary Ford Baggett, had moved to Northwest Arkansas for a while, didn't know anyone. She got 700 great new local connections using her Facebook profile in a week. Because let's face it, if she doesn't know anybody, then she's can't even have shallow connections. So we have to get you connected to more people. Great. Very cool. All right. So when this happens, what we see is there are perception issues. They're just not known by the right people in the right way. And what happens when you're there, when it comes to referrals, is you're battling for referrals. We get that. You're missing out because referral is such a trusted form of business. And it's kind of unfulfilling. It's unfulfilling to work with people that you don't really know and like. It's more fulfilling to work with people that you resonate with, that come with a lot of trust, that really want your help. That's why we get into the business. I'm sure some of you, that was your goal, was to help people when you started. Now, it's hard to help somebody who's a Facebook lead, who has completely different value set to you, maybe completely different life stage to what you're after, really just wants very low commission from you. That sort of person is never going to be fulfilling to work with. So that's what happens when we're disconnected. But let's mix it up and look at connection if we could. So we're going to pull out disconnection, pull out all this, and we're going to look at connection here. So what does this look like here? So instead of being unknown, we want you to be known by more people in your community. So for some of us, let's work and figure out, how do I get new connections? How do I get more connections within my community? Again, you can just use your Facebook profile to do this. You can do it in real life. People are everywhere. The first step is knowing exactly who I want to connect with. And then there are many strategies and techniques to go out there and add them. Secondly, how can I go after the right people? Like, where do I really want my business to be? Who do I really want to help? And can I build a sphere of influence up that's full of those people and less of the wrong people? And then what are my strategies to go deep? Why should people help me? How can I use social media, every relational outreach that you do, so that people know me a little bit more? We have a saying in our training, in every chat conversation that we have, because we use Messenger and text message quite a bit, can I leave the world a little bit better off? In every conversation, can I make the world a little bit better? And some of that is, I challenge people, in this next conversation you have with a member of your sphere, can I find out one more thing about them? And can I share one thing about me that they don't know? Because a deeper relationship will lead to more referrals. And honestly, a lot of people in your sphere of influence probably do not know that you love to work word of mouth. And in fact, it's critical that you want to work word of mouth because you want to bring back the integrity into real estate. Whatever language you use, I work word of mouth. So when you tell other people about me, it's really helpful. A lot of members of your sphere of influence probably do not know that about you, that it's really helpful for them to talk about you to their friends because it's your main source of business. So unless you've communicated that to them, why would they be keeping an eye out and the air out to help you? They wouldn't. So we want to do that. And then here, we want you to be seen as having authority, to be expert, leader, popular, all these things, successful, genuine, all these. But you've got to be known by the right people, and you've got to have deep relationships with them. Because when we do that, it's really powerful. Now, not to get too drawing on you, the other thing that we see, the other important thing is most people are not having enough conversations with their sphere of influence. So what I mean by that is we talk at people quite a bit with our messaging, Classic drip email, send it out, hope you read it, hope you liked it. If I do it enough, eventually you'll think of me when it comes to buying, right? That's not a conversation. Or social media post promoting myself, not a conversation. And so everything we encourage people to do is to have conversations with their sphere using text, messenger, even email can generate conversations. That's the most important thing. Are you actually talking to people? Real life, don't forget that. We have counters that we use. Here's one here. This is a red counter. I click it every time I talk to a person, have a conversation, because talking to people is very important. I'm clicker trading myself like I'm a puppy. But that's powerful. If you talk to people, you'll sell. If you're not, you won't. And actually keeping a mental note of, am I talking to enough people, is very important. How many people should you talk to? We have a goal for all our realtors that they should start 25 conversations a week. It's actually not that much when you're using technology, and it can be really fun and really life-giving. We have one member in a luxury market at his best, he would start 125 conversations a week. From there, he would have 40 phone calls. In that 10-week period, he got 13 clients. So luxury market, cheapest house he sells is 1.5 million. So that was just through talking to people. You can't really talk too much to your sphere of influence. You can use the same message all the time. That's not talking, right? We want to get to know people better. And the way we get to know people better, to get very deep, is we have to really love our sphere of influence. Do we really love the people that we're connected to? If not, are they the wrong people? Or have we got to change our attitude? This time of year coming up, great time to love on your sphere of influence. Don't just give them a pie. Make sure that when you give them a pie, you get to talk to them, right? And so we often do, we create nurture campaigns that pull the conversation out of it, right? It's got to be scalable. So I'm going to find a way to give to people without even seeing them or talking to them. And then I feel like I've done my nurturing. No, like even if it was as simple as saying, hey, Deborah, I've got 3 different types of pies I'm giving people this year. Which one would you like? And she has to say, well, I'll have the sweet potato, maybe. And then at least we're having a conversation, right? Like we want to get everything organized to go out automatically so that we don't have to talk to them. And honestly, I think people could do better by not giving a gift and simply having conversations or giving compliments or appreciation or caring about people. Classic example, in the snowstorm in Texas earlier this year, just so you know the difference, I've two examples. We had Mark Alexander, great realtor in Austin. He created a post. His plumber came around and gave him some advice before the snowstorm. This is what you need to do or your pipes are going to explode. Great advice. Mark wrote a great post about it, put it on Facebook. It got shared 15,000 times, his post. 15,000 times. Amazing exposure. He got a client from it, which was great, about close to $1 million. It was a $900,000 buyer. Kirsten Openshaw in our training, I reached out to her because she had a child who has a heart problem, just to check and see how she was doing. She said, I'm doing fine. We haven't lost our power. And I said, have you talked to your sphere of influence? No. She sent them a message on her phone via a CRM. It was the same message to 100 people in a snowstorm in Texas. It said, hey, this is Kirsten here. You've been on my mind. Are you warm? Are you okay? Is there anything you need? Within an hour, 65 people had responded to her message out of 100. Imagine an email that had a 65% open rate. Three listings and one buyer in a snowstorm in Texas by talking directly to people, right? By caring and not talking about real estate at all, by really loving her sphere of influence. So the power to connect directly with people is the power of technology. And there's all sorts of ways to have it organized, scalable. But if you want to work by referral and be the #1 leader in your community, you've got to really love the people you're working with. 3, first thing, must be talking to them. Second thing, you've got to love them. Third thing is you've got to have a mechanism in place to grow your sphere if you want to be 100% by referral. New people are very important. They bring new energy. They don't have the same baggage. If I go out there now into the other room and I say to my wife, don't you think my accent is great? She's going to say, no, because she's used to it. You, however, are listening to this thinking, my goodness, he has a very alluring accent, correct? I'm joking. But because it's new, you're not used to it. It's the same with your sphere of influence. You need new energy coming in, new people. They're curious. They're fascinated by you. So you want to be using technology to get connected to new people. And you don't need a lot of tech. You just need your Facebook profile and to know who you're going after. But we've had people, a good amount of growth for some has come from 300 new contacts. Dana Riley started our training last year, was doing about 12 transactions a year. She connected with 300 new people in the first 5 days of working together. She had 7 new clients within the first 3 weeks from that. And now she's done about 30 transactions this year for the first time in her life. And a lot of that came from new growth, new people, finding out who she was, experiencing her kindness, her love, her leadership. She's super smart, her talking to them. So it's very important we get new people in. And then fourthly, we want to be able to create partners. So we don't just want new people coming in and receiving lots of kindness from us and us talking to them all the time. We need to know, how do we turn a human being into a partner? And this is where many realtors, in my opinion, make a big mistake. And the mistake is this: you ask for the referral and not for partnership. It's kind of like me asking for sex and not marriage, right? Shocking, I know, but it's a bit tiring to do that. You want to ask for partnership. So a classic line through the scripting and frameworks that we provide that we get people to use is, hey, let's help each other. Let's see if we can help each other with partners. Local business owner, hey, what are you trying to do? What's your business been like? It's been tough, really tough. Mine has been up and down too. Who do you really like to help? I like to help these people. That's cool. I like to help these people. All right, why don't we see if we can help each other? That's partnership. That gets you referred way more than, hey, if you know anyone, send them to me. It's a transactional way of thinking about referrals. We want a relational way of thinking about referrals. Is this making sense? Can you just give me a wave if it's making sense? And if I'm not boring you, great. When we can do all this, we have a pipeline that's full of flow, and we're getting clients, and you're actually loving your work because you're working with people that you really care about. Just let me know in the chat box so far, what's one thing that's been most impactful for you? I want to keep an eye on the time. We're doing pretty well. What's one thing that's most impactful? One thing you're thinking about differently? Just pop that in the chat. Video caring messages. Yeah, great idea. Yep. Video, voice. One of the things you want to be careful of if you're using Messenger, I'll just put this in there for this, is sometimes people will send a stranger a video or a stranger a voice message. And that can be a bit scary. So what we like to say is, if they haven't seen you or heard you in real life, or on a Zoom call, for example, send them a text message. If they've heard your voice before, like on the phone, send them a voice message. If they've seen you and heard you in real life, send them a video. But just keep the context right. Making connections, making partnerships, quality of interactions. Yeah, building relationships. I love this. All right, very cool. I'm going to move on, if everyone is good for me to move on just to the next little model. But we want to be more connected with our sphere of influence. There's never There's no relationship you have in your life where you know everything about that person and you don't need more connection. And if you think about your most intimate relationship, if you start to take the attitude, I already know everything, you get bored and it dies. So you never want to stop being curious about that person. What does it take to be 100% by referral and a market leader? Let's look at a pyramid here, a pyramid model. So if your goal is I want to be 100% by referral and I want to be relational and I want to lead the market, there's a few things we have to do. So I'm going to draw a triangle here, and at the bottom, and you can draw it too, just put 4 lines through the triangle, just like that. I'm just going to take a drink. Thank you so much. All right. We will have questions at the end too. I started sending BombBomb videos. One guy opened it 18 times. Not sure how to take that. Yeah, he liked it very much. All right, let's go here. So the first thing is commitment. If you want to be 100% by referral and you want to be the market leader, you really have to commit to being relational. Your life gets too busy if you have multiple lead sources. This is what I see. People have 5 different lead sources. They're jumping from one place to another. They're on all these different social media channels. And then they're complaining, I don't get more referrals. Well, you're not committed to getting more referrals. You're committed to getting business from all these different places. So the realtors I see that get loads of referrals, that dominate their market, are ruthlessly committed to saying, you know what? I want to work 100% relationally because it allow me to have an impact. It's business coming in, it's trusted business, and they do very, very, very well from it. So the sort of example is like the unhappy husband who goes looking for relationships everywhere else and then complains that things aren't good at home, right? It's there because he's not focusing his attention, and we want to focus our attention here. So how committed are you currently to being by referral and being relational? Like, are you 10%, 20%, 50%, 80%, 100%? What's your commitment level feel like? 100%, 100%, great. And guess what? I think someone who answered 100% actually does get 100% of referrals, which is great. 100%, 100%. Yeah, so you have to have the commitment there. That's important. If we don't have the commitment, like if we're 75%, which is represented by the green, you'll see what happens to our pyramid. So that's the first thing. Commitment is where we start. We have to say, yes, this is what I want. Then the next thing is a strategy. Do I have a predictable way of nurturing my relationships, getting new people in, loving my sphere of influence, and creating partners? Am I able to say, this week, I know exactly how I'm going to talk to 25 people, and this will be the number of partners that I create. I'm going to literally, with this green counter, say to at least 5 people, let's help each other. Let's do what we can to help each other. Like, I'm going to start these conversations, and I'm going to get a certain number of people every week to say, let's help each other and make a partnership agreement. So if we don't have a clear strategy, we can be committed as we like, but it's going to get frustrating. So what's your, how clear are you on what you need to do to build relationships every single day and every single week so you can get more referrals and dominate the market? Are you 10%, 20%, 50%? What's your commitment level? What's your strategy? Sorry. How clear on your strategy are you? Pop that in the chat. How clear on your strategy are you? 20%. It's a great commitment, but not sure how. That's normal. Anyone else? 10, 9, 8, 60, 40, 30. Thank you. Didn't make me keep doing the countdown. 3, 2, 1. What's your percentage like strategy? How clear are you on what you need to do? Very important. So we're going to see here, maybe 50% of us are clear. So we want to know, we want to be committed. We want to know how, and then we want to be taking action. Now, it's one thing to know what to do. It's another thing to implement, right? And so what I see with people who succeed with our model and with getting business via relationship is that they are not perfectionists. They are not perfectionists. Kirsten, who I told you about, who got all those clients in the snowstorm, she has very little time because her baby has, her son, he's now 3, Lincoln, has had about 25 major heart surgeries. She's also working in a pandemic, so she wants people she trusts, doesn't want to meet because he's immunocompromised. So there's a lot of things that she's got juggling, and she doesn't have time to wonder whether this is the right action for her. So she's a terrible referral partner for me. I've referred her to other people, like have a talk to Kirsten, and they say, well, how does it work? And she says, well, I don't really know. I just do what Geoff says, because she doesn't have time to second guess herself. She just does it. And so if you don't start any conversations, you will have 0 conversations. If you don't ask for people, hey, let's work together, let's help each other, no one will agree to help you. And so we need, especially at the start, to be taking actions that get us face to face and talking to people. If we don't outreach to a new person, we're probably not going to make many new friends. And somehow, at some point in our lives, we got really bad at connecting with new people, most of us. Classic example, my daughter Rose, from the age of 2 or 3, she's 5 now, would go to the park and she would look around the park and she'd say, none of my friends are here. And in about 40 minutes later, she would leave the park saying, I've got to say goodbye to my friends. Because in that 40 minutes, she had made 3 or 4 new friends. But for us, as we get older, we get a little, I'm going to say lazy or fearful in making new connections. But the truth is, every single person you've met in your life, barring maybe your mother, was a stranger to you once. Every single person. So you're already quite good at making new connections. You've done it your entire life. We just need to turn that back on and take actions that get you talking to new people. How good are you at taking action in general with lead gen and things like that? Are you 10%, 20%? Are you a really good action taker? 50%? What's your percentage for taking action? Let me know. 80%, 50%, 90%. Great. 90. Amazing. 50. Right. Good. Sometimes we don't take action because we're not quite sure whether it will work and we're not quite sure what to do. That's why. So we want to make sure that we are taking a good amount of action. 4th step, here's an example. Talk to you about Kirsten and Clive and their son Lincoln. They take great action. This is a stat I found online. This is an all-time stat for the NBA, all-time record. You can see Kobe Bryant was number 1, is number 1. LeBron James is number 4. And these other 2 in the middle, I'm not a big basketball fan, but they are both Hall of Fame basketball players too. Can you guess what this statistic represents? All-time record for the NBA. Can you guess what it represents? Have a guess. Put in the chat. Anyone? I'll give you 10 seconds.
Field goals.
No. No, not quite, Deborah. Close though. Go.
Missed shots?
Missed shots. In the history of the NBA, Kobe Bryant missed more shots than anybody else, right? He took more action than anybody else. They threw the ball to him more than anybody else, even though he missed more than anyone. Of course, he scored more points than everybody else too, but he took lots of action. He failed a bunch. He said something like, my mind can't even conceive failure, is what he said. And when we outreach to people, when we try and connect with new people, sometimes they don't like it very much. Sometimes they don't respond, but we do it because we know of the ones who will. And that's really important. I am constantly, what we know statistically is if you start 100 conversations with people, just checking the time, if I start 100 conversations with people on my phone, about 50% of people won't respond reply or they'll be cold to me. That's normal. They probably don't belong in my sphere of influence. But if I start 100 conversations with people who own homes in your market, 50 won't respond, 42 will respond and will buy or sell a house in 3 or 4 years, and 7 or 8 will buy or sell a house in the next 4 to 6 months. So all you really need to do is talk to people, but you need to understand that 50% of the time it's going to be like a missed shot. But guess what happens if you don't talk to any of them? You miss out on those 7 or 8, and you miss out on everyone else. I started a group and we meet for the first time tomorrow. The group are all senior professionals, law, fitness. Yes, that's fantastic. That's a bunch of conversations, Amy. Amazing, amazing. Figure out how to get people to help each other, and you'll be leading it. It's amazing. That's exactly what we're talking about. So here, the next thing is practice. Practice. We often are committed, we have a strategy, we take action, and we expect it to work straight away every time. That never works every time. Even didn't work every time for Kobe Bryant. But we don't practice the art of connecting with people. There are so many different ways to start conversations with people via Facebook or your phone. But unless you practice, you won't get good. And we need to fail a lot. But when you outreach to people, you start to learn what works, what gets them to reply, what helps you build a deeper relationship. And it's very important that you practice. So we're not going to talk too much about practice here, but most people don't practice enough. And then lastly, at the top of the pyramid, that's 100%. And you get there through being committed to being relational, having a strategy, taking action, and practicing a lot. Now, you can see that if I took out the red, the pyramid would fall over without the commitment there. So it's very important that you build a base of strong commitment. Hey, I want more work by relationship. I'm committed to building my sphere of influence and growing it and being good to them. And I'm going to get a strategy to do it. And if I'm committed and I have a strategy and I take action and I practice, that's how I get there. Does that make sense? That's the way there. So that's what gets us there. So the truth is, I think, an industry truth, they're really, maybe not this binary, but I like to think of it this way. If you think about relational spectrum, like being super relational on one end and more transactional on the other, there are a lot of realtors who are more transactional here. In other words, and I've spoken to some of them, and sometimes their language is very disturbing. Like they'll literally say to me, if they're not interested in buying right now, I'm not interested in talking to them. They'll tell me that. So of course, that person gets referred not very much. Their past clients don't refer them. In their mind, the relationship ends the moment the closing happens or shortly after. Excuse my spelling mistake there, a spec term. It's not that sounds like some kind of medical tool. And then so about 85% are there, and about 15% say, you know what? In everything I do, I want to build relationships and I want to make the world better. Even in all my marketing is going to add value and build deeper relationships. So I'm curious, where do you want to be? Do you want to be red or green? Before we jump into some questions. Red or green, what's your commitment? Green. And it's totally okay to say red. That's the way some people are. They want to be more that way. It's fine. Green. Yep. Anyone else? Green. Amazing. Great. So we want to be in the right place. And so if you want my help doing it, what I'm going to suggest you do, there's no point like selling anything. It's just a matter of us having a conversation, because we do have a bunch of people using Facebook to build out their sphere, and it's super powerful. We have some events coming up and all sorts of stuff. So I'm just going to put my Facebook link to Messenger here. And if you just send me a note right now before we get into questions and say, Geoff, tell me more about what you do. We'll just chat and see if it's good fit. There's not any point trying to talk anybody into anything they don't want. So if you just hit that link there and send me a message right now, we can talk today, tomorrow, just in Messenger. It's fine. And then I want to answer any questions and discuss, come up with any ideas that you guys have, because there's a big holiday period coming up. And you
Jeff,
might have some questions.
Isabel did have a question, so if she can hop on her mic, she can go ahead and ask that,
Yeah.
because I just told her to wait until the end. So Isabel, are you out there somewhere? Isabel?
Yes, yes.
There she is.
I was just typing regarding sending out note cards, personal note cards to your sphere of influence, and you send them a handwritten message. You recommend doing that?
So it's all about, one, let me ask you first question. Have you done it before?
Yes.
Did it get you business?
Yes.
How much?
One person gave me probably about 3 or 4 leads just this year.
Then I would keep doing it, but I would do it in a way that is as relational as possible. So I'd like to add something to it because I think you'd find it even better. So if you could text, like, way I would do it if I were you is if I was connected to them on Facebook. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for a few people who have messaged me. I would find them on Facebook if I'm connected to them, which you should be, or in text message, and I would have a conversation with them, find out just how they're doing in their life and share a little bit about yourself. What you're looking for in that chat is to find one thing that you can include in your note. So you're having a conversation and you're sharing something about, for example, could be, I'm doing great. I just went to my daughter's graduation last month, right? Something like that. Then the note includes, man, congratulations on your daughter graduating. That must feel great. Like, it just, because you want your note to feel as personal as possible, and you want your note to lead to conversations, not just to be a lot of effort that you put out there and then you wait for them to reply. So whenever that kind of marketing can come out of a conversation, that's better. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you for that smart tip.
Yeah, that's the way I would do that. Anyone else?
Jeff, to piggyback on what you were saying, I had given a talk to to one of our groups, and I was talking about the senior market. And one of the things in the senior market that we find, or that I specifically find, I know Donald and Debbie and Laura and myself, we talk about this, is the senior market's a very interesting approach. There you have to bond with them and engage with them and connect with them. And so when I love the idea of the note cards, I love the idea of newsletters. They want information, and they need trust at that age in order to feel good about giving you their business. That's money that's hard earned, and they want to hold on to it as hard as they can.
Yes.
So that this demographics specifically is very much into a connection and building on that connection. They are not like most agents nowadays are like, let's go, let's get that sale, let's go. They will, there's a total turn off to them. They don't want to hear it, they don't care, they don't want. So you got to go slow. It's baby steps. Hand holding. The other thing I do suggest to other agents on here is that recording stuff for them, because as seniors, specifically myself, because I got to be honest, Donald told me you were from New Zealand about 5 seconds before I saw you. And I even said Australia. So
that was my fault.
Senior moment, a total senior moment, but I'm just saying is hand holding, information, freebie stuff. That generation comes from a very specific way of being raised and the way that they view things. So maybe not social media in this demographic, in certain demographics may not be the greatest thing, and something like newsletters or postcards and handwritten stuff is a little they like.
I think I hear you completely. There is a good portion of that demographic that is on Facebook, for example. However, going slower with them even there is important. And having strategies that don't involve technology also very important. what I would say with that demographic, particularly this demographic on Facebook, is see how you can get the relationship off Facebook as quickly as possible. Don't ask for too much online. There are obviously lots of stories amongst seniors about them getting like scammed or like, so I'm just not, there's this mistrust there as well. So if you can do anything to, relationships and technology, they can start on technology and move offline, and you want to do that quickly with seniors, but also connecting with a senior who you already know on Facebook can be more powerful too, because they've already met you in real life. So I think it's both, but I hear you absolutely go as slow as you need to go. We say you can only move as fast as the slowest person in a relationship. Just don't be the slowest, but don't try and rush people too much, because it does. I mean, we all know examples of realtors who, had one reach out to me last week that said his first message was, "Do you want to buy or sell in Ohio?" I'm like, "I'm not in Ohio." Right? Like, really? That's your first touch? Really? And that works for you?
So going back to that first touch,
Right.
this demographics is a very, very interesting niche. You've got homeowners that have been in their home for 40, 50, 60 years. And
Right.
so they're living in a 2-story home. They need to downsize, but they don't want to downsize because all of their memories are in there. So you're kind of battling this as well.
Sure.
However, they really, majority of them do sell and downsize or, age in place, should I say. There's different ways of saying the word of, going into a smaller home, but they don't like, they don't want to think that way, and they don't want that approach. They want a different approach, and they need slower, especially like when it comes to paperwork. I pre-record, we did a Zoom thing several months ago, but we started pre-recording stuff, especially documents that we're about to go over, so they can see what we're going to sign. And then we go over them before we're going to sign them, so they can ask questions. Quite often the senior market, they've got a lot of questions, but they think of them after the fact, and they need time signing.
Right. I think it's important. I think we also want to think about the relationship building process from a new meeting with someone who's a senior to getting, as the relationship develops, more of a business type approach, trust, real estate advice, all that sort of stuff. In this first phase, which is connection based, which is very important for the trust phase, there are a few things that are really helpful for you to consider when dealing with seniors. One is nostalgia is a very powerful connection tool. So we will sometimes, when we're helping our clients connect more with seniors, use social media posts that ask about the past. Like I asked in our local community group here, I'm pretty new to this area, what's one thing that you wish, what's one business that you wish you could bring back to Tairua? Oh my goodness, the nostalgia, the dreaming, the remembering, hundreds of comments talking about this. So people of that age bracket, they like to remember a lot, and they also probably have a lot to share and wisdom, things that they've learned. So providing a space in chat or in real life for them to share what they've learned are important. If I'm trying to build a connection with a senior, I will invariably talk about my children. They'll always give me advice. Oh, like, treasure that time. They grow up so fast. I wish mine were young again, right? We're forming a connection. In some ways, they're parenting me. And that's okay, because I need all the help I can get. My daughter is crying out there. Right? And so we want to like embrace that area of life. My mum is 85 and she's in a retirement home. And my siblings say, oh, she just wants to talk about the past all the time. She won't stop. And my wife, who's much smarter than me and understands human development, said, that's exactly what she's supposed to be doing. She's processing her life. And so thinking about that in your relationship building, in your newsletters, in your cards, and the way you connect with these people, are you giving them ability to process a little bit of their life? Because you're making the world better with them if you can do that. Or are you just talking at them and giving them information? That's different. So we want to make sure, like, the really clever marketers will let other people do all the talking. Let them
I
talk
see
their way into
Kelly.
it.
Yeah, I see Kelly has her hand up on her screen, and we've got about a few more minutes, so we're going to wrap it up. But Kelly, please go ahead and ask a question.
I was just going to make a comment that when we're marketing to the seniors, marketing to their kids is powerful as well, because a lot of times the kids are the ones that are helping make the decision. So if we can gain the trust of the kids themselves and have their buy-in to the process, it just helps things that much further when you're dealing with the parents.
So important. And when you think about an adult child's worst fear is that someone will take advantage of their parent. Like, someone will scam my mom, right? Like, that's a fear. Like, someone's going to knock on her door. And so totally, very important. I love that. Any other questions before we go?
So I want to thank everybody for joining us. We are agents, Geoff, we're agents from all over. We're not just from a certain brokerage. We just kind of are all over collaborating in this market. As I was saying earlier, we do have quite a niche here that's untapped. There's not a lot of agents that are honing in on this area. And so we see a need for it. And a lot of us agents just don't know how to get it off the ground and market in this area. And so every little bit does help. And I appreciate you giving us your love and knowledge.
My pleasure.
So
great to talk to you all. You guys all give yourself a pat on the back because you all worked very hard in that chat. You did great. Yeah, that's right, Brenda. No, nice pat on the back. Loved it. Thank you guys so much. Message me if you want to chat some more. We have a big Facebook group. I will give you the link, Heather, and you can just invite them to join it.
I definitely will. This is recorded, so we'll have it in, we'll drop it into our Facebook page and our workplace group. So both those will have it and people can go ahead and review it. So if they didn't catch it, they'd be able to have it. Isabel's like, thank you, awesome content. I love when we have great content and I appreciate you bringing everything to our group. It always helps.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, please connect with Geoff. I can tell you, Geoff and I have been connected maybe a year now, year and a half, somewhat like that. I can tell you, Geoff puts out a lot of great content. He asks a lot of simple questions that will get you a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And help build your Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram accounts. Just by asking simple questions and getting your audience's responses. Geoff's a master at that.
I suggest you guys go friend request him also, because when I friend requested him, I didn't realize that you and I have a lot of friends in common in Los Angeles area.
Yes, that's awesome. I need to check it, see who it is. Thank you guys
you're quite the man.
Great.
All right. Well, I thank you, Geoff. Appreciate it. We are not having class next week because it is Thanksgiving, but we will be back the week after. We are also hosting an SRES designation class. It's a 2-day class that we're going to be having right at the beginning of December. So if you are not designated SRES, we do have
January
people.
January 12th and 13th.
Yeah. So you'll be seeing a bunch of information going out. Let us know if there's anything that you guys want to see within our group. We're happy to, find people to come in and do something, because if you guys want it, it means, that somebody else is going to want it too. So we appreciate all comments, suggestions, questions.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening. Geoff, thanks as always, my friend.
Okay, thank you. See you.
All right.
Enjoy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.